My name is Jess with Brown Web Design, and I was about to deploy a RefineryCMS application on Heroku and thought I would record it and share it and hopefully help someone out. So I'm going to create the Rails app first and then add Refinery as a gem and then deploy it to Heroku. So I'm on the RefineryCMS guides, and this is using Refinery with an existing Rails app. My Rails app at this point is just going to be an empty Rails app, but so starting off here, I just want to point out I do already have I've already specified my Ruby version, and I've also went ahead and created a gem file first so that I could specify which Rails versions I want to use, and I could use bundler to specify those. So if we do bundle execute Rails, then it'll give the version that we need here for Refinery, because Refinery doesn't work with 4 as far as I know at this point. So we can run the Rails new command in this directory. We use Postgres. GRESQL, there we go, and I'm going to skip test unit. And there's the gem file. Rails is trying to create a regular gem file, so we're just going to choose no, so we don't overwrite it. So there we go. Now we just need to set up our database. And we don't need the username and password, because by default Postgres will just use, or Rails will use the system username and password, and that should work if you have your if you have a username for your Postgres database set up as the system one. So now we should be able to create the database. Okay, and now we need to run a refinery command to set up Refinery, and this are the initial steps that we've already done. I had Refinery in my gem file already, and we already bundled. So now we can run this generator command. I'm just prefixing this command with bundle execute. BE is my alias. So this sets up some database migrations, routes, just a few of the basic things that the gem needs. It just takes about 30 seconds. It'll seed the database for some of the necessary records. Okay, so now we should be able to run our Rails server. Let's just refresh this page and make sure it's working. So when you first log into Refinery, it's going to require you to set up a username and password. This will be your super user. So there we go. So now we're working locally, and now let's see about getting it deployed to Heroku. So Refinery has a guide for that as well, and there's kind of 2 versions. They have a generator command where you can just create a Heroku app, but if you already have a Rails app and you want to deploy it on Heroku, then this is their instructions. And so we set up our Rails app to use PG automatically, so we can skip this step, and then we just need to get to the point of creating our Heroku app. So we'll stop the server, and I'm going to go ahead and initialize this and commit it. So now when we create the Heroku app, it'll be able to add the remotes. There we go. Now there's one thing I've found that's a bit tricky is I think everybody finds this a bit tricky, but getting assets to precompile. And you'll notice in the guides here, it tells you to go ahead and push to Heroku, but I found that if you do this, then it's going to fail because the assets aren't going to pre-compile. And then it tells you to come back and put this line as true, but if you put that initially, you're probably going to get it to fail as well. So this is what I had to do to get it to work. So in your config application, down at the end here, I actually had to specify false. And I'm not sure if this has something to do with because the Heroku application hasn't actually been deployed yet, but this is just the way I was able to get it to work. So now we can push. Okay, I paused it during the deploy just to save on the video time, but you can see it installed the gems. It's successfully precompiled, and we had a success deploying. So now we just need to create our database and migrate it, or it's already created, but we just need to migrate it and seed it. Okay. Restart it just to be safe here. Alright, and there we go. So now we should be able to access the back end as well. Alright, you'll have to create your user and pass on production. Now you'll notice that it doesn't look the same as it did before. It's because the assets aren't actually pre-compiling. So to get that to work, now we need to go back to our guides and we need to change this to true. Now if you get something that looks like this, then you'll see that the precompile failed, and this is where the guides talk about you may need to enable this feature. It's a labs that enables user environment variables on the precompile. So we're going to enable that and then redeploy. Okay, so this time it didn't bomb on us. The asset precompilation finished and it was able to launch. So now if we go to this and refresh, we get our assets precompiled. So there you go. I think that's about all I wanted to share and show. So taking a blank Rails app and deploying, adding RefineryCMS and deploying to Heroku.